What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rob here. This is like a bonus episode for this week. We're gonna have Paul on here. Obviously, it's been 2 weeks in general, since we recorded about college football. But this past weekend specifically, a lot went on. Regular season came to a close. You have the conference championships coming this weekend, and Heisman playoff, all that stuff down the line. But yeah, bro. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks, man. There's been a lot of shakeup the last 2 weeks, but this past rivalry week was probably the most insane I've seen in a long time around the board. Um, Anyone who keeps up with sports at all has seen the flag plants that happened on Saturday. It was like an epidemic going around on Saturday for whatever reason. Michigan started something that'll probably get banned soon enough, even though I thought it was kind of fun. Everyone probably has their opinions on that, but a lot of upsets. A lot of shaking up in the rankings, and yeah, now we have some conference championships to talk about, and some actual. We can really, I guess, talk about the playoff in the most concrete way that we've been able to all season. So it's exciting stuff, man.
Not for sure, bro. A lot of a lot. There's pepper spray. There's tears,
Oh,
smiles, everything this past weekend. But yeah, bro. You want to start off? Obviously, number two Ohio State. They go down for a fourth consecutive year to their rival Michigan. In a year where it's been kind of a down year for Michigan, and Michigan still finds a way to win. I don't know if you want to start with that one and kind of give your thoughts on that game.
yeah, dude, I was making a lechon that day with Joey. So we started around noon, which was when the game was on. We were watching the game and making the lechon the whole time. It was awesome. But that was honestly one of the best games of all day. Some people would say it wasn't because there was a lot of mistakes on both sides. A lot of empty red zone trips, especially for Ohio State. Basically, the reason they lost. Um, but man, it was just, I mean, absolute dogfight. I think it's the last thing Ohio State wanted to find themselves in was like trading blows, fight, like just who's the tougher guy, who's just gonna go down first. And Michigan brought it to them. They're a physical team. They have been all season, and they were more physical with them. They capitalized when they needed to, and Ohio State did it. They had a few empty red zone trips, missed field goals. That then even but Michigan had some too. They had that goal line interception that Ohio State did nothing with. Um, Super low scoring game, right? Like I said, this is not the game Ohio State wanted to play, and but they didn't make the adjustments to play another game. You know, uh, it was huge at the end of the day. A huge loss for Ryan Day because at the end of the day, yeah, they'll still probably be in the playoff, which we'll get into. But he just can't do it. He can't beat Michigan. He could beat almost any other team. But if they have that M logo, he I don't know what happens. He just crawls into a hole, and he loses what it is to coach. I don't know what it is. Uh, I was not impressed with them, even though they've been pretty consistent all season long. Uh, so not the momentum they wanted going into the off season. I mean into the postseason, and then they lost to their Big Ten championship spot. So lot wrong a lot went wrong for Ohio State this weekend for sure.
Not for sure. I wasn't able to like tune in. I saw like highlights after the game, but I was gonna ask you like, I did hear that Ohio State had some struggles in the red zone. I think they missed like two field goals or something. From
Yeah.
what you saw, what do you think was the main reason why they like struggled in that area? Like, was it like the play calling or were they just not like executing? You think?
It was execution,
Okay.
definitely execution. Like you said, two missed field goals in the red zone is unacceptable. And at home in a rivalry game, I think when your Ohio State should have the best kicker or one of the best kickers in the country and a really good special teams unit. So there's no excuse for that. Um, and just yeah, like I said, red zone execution. They had the plays. They could have been more successful. They just weren't. And they, like I said, the adjustments weren't being made because they would march down the field. I think they had four red zone trips and so at least four red zone trips, and they didn't get more than 10 points off of those red zone trips, if I'm not mistaken. And it's sad because the defense was doing their job. I think Michigan's only touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, was because of a defensive, like because of an interception that set them up,
Wow.
basically like on the 5 or whatever. So they scored a touchdown pretty easily. So the Ohio State's defense showed up. If you would have told me Michigan scored 13 points, I'd have been like Ohio State probably stomped them, right? But they didn't because they just weren't executing in the red zone.
Damn, that kind of not to get distracted. We're talking college, but that takes me back to the Dolphins like on Thanksgiving night. A big theme in that game, like we had two red zone possessions with no points. You know that Green Bay, their first touchdown drive, started as a first and goal because we muffed a punt. But yeah, I don't want to get like distracted. But but yeah, so besides that game, obviously we have the Miami game to talk about. But I don't know if there's another game you want to talk about before.
Yeah, the one game I really want to talk about is the one that happened on Friday night, actually, which was Georgia Tech. Um, Georgia Tech, I think, proved to the country that the Miami game was not a fluke. They're actually a solid team, real deal. They're up 17-0, I think, at halftime, in control of the game the entire time until the fourth quarter, where Georgia scored, I think, at least 21 points. I can't remember right now correctly, but Georgia opened it up on them. Haynes King had absolutely phenomenal game, Rob. I mean, like, I can't even let me pull up his stats because I think he had two touchdowns on offense and defense at least. I think he had over 400 or 500 yards total. He just like laid his nuts out, had the game of his life. I feel bad because they came up a bit short. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of these rules, the overtime rules that they have now. They went back and forth 2 point conversions like seven times or whatever it was. It's just not football to me. Like I think the old way was way better, but it was an entertaining game. Like I was glued. I think the game ended around like midnight, and I was there for every single play. Let me look. Haynes King, 300 passing yards, two touchdowns, no picks. 110 rushing yards, three touchdowns on the ground. So he had five touchdowns, and over 400 yards total. I mean, what an absolute monster game, dude. I mean, I feel for the guy. I feel for Georgia Tech, but Georgia showed that they're resilient. They're and they know how to make the adjustments. Something that is really something that you see Kirby Smart do time and time again.
Not for sure. No, you got to give Kirby Smart a lot of credit for keeping the team to keep fighting and not give up. They're down by a lot, and that game is funny. The game started. I was on a flight, and for all the overtimes, I was on the road, so I was able to catch like from like the end of the fourth quarter to the rest of the game, like on the road on my phone, and I'm not a fan of like the whole 2 point stuff, like the back and forth. Like you said, I don't think that's football either. I would prefer, honestly, man. Like I would prefer, like do a quarter. You want to do like a 5 minute quarter, and kind of how the NFL has it now, where even if you score first, the other team could get a shot. But like I don't like that whole no kickoffs. You get it like in short yardage, and I don't really like it. But yeah, no, Georgia. Yeah, trust me, I was following that game. I was like, man, I couldn't believe Georgia Tech was up by so much at halftime. Like, not that I think they're bad, but I was still like in shock because like, well, you hear about Georgia, you know what I'm saying? You would never expect a close game like that. You would think Georgia would like blow them out, but
Yeah.
but yeah, based off of that game, like, what are your? I don't know if you have any different like views of either team.
I think Georgia Tech just solidified themselves as dogs. Like they punched them in the mouth in Athens. Um, I think Georgia now is tied for the longest streak of SEC home wins, if I'm not mistaken. So they almost spoiled that, which would have been huge. This rivalry hasn't meant much in the last few years because Georgia's been dominating them, and Georgia Tech fans would agree. I would hope they'd agree with that. But yeah, man, like they balled out. But obviously Georgia won at the end of the day. It shows me, like I said, the adjustments they made and the resilience that they showed. In terms of the overtime rules, I like the old method. I think that LSU Texas A&M game just I don't know who decided. Wow, that was such a that that game went to seven overtimes or something like that. It ended up being like 74-72. I watched that game live too. Um, for some reason we were like, oh, we need to change it because of that one game. But before it was fine. Like it worked normally. You'd get it to 25 and it was untimed and whatever. and it would usually end in one, if not max, like three overtimes. Um, but I see what you're saying. Like maybe not starting in field like real good field position. Maybe starting at like the 40. Like because like a kicker could maybe make it if you get it to the 35, right? Like gives you a little bit of a challenge, but still far enough that you kind of have to go for it. Maybe make it timed. But the one thing that Kirby Smart did was genius, but they're gonna get rid of it. Is calling timeouts. I don't know if you weren't watching the game, but every single time Georgia Tech started with where they had the ball and the 2 point conversions, he would call timeout to see their formation,
Wow.
and then he would make a play based on that. Like so, it was like kind of messed up because it was like, man, like I, why does he keep getting timeouts after like every single chance we get? That was messed up. I actually he used it to his advantage, and I'm not gonna knock him for doing what the rules give him, but they got to get rid of that at the very least.
Nah, 100%, bro. Nah, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even know that he did that. Yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. Like no, like you said, he's not cheating. It's allowed, but yeah, that makes no sense. That like ruins the game.
Yeah, if we want to make the game shorter because with overtime, then don't do
Yeah,
that, right? They just made the game way longer. And more time for commercials, I'm sure, and they made money off it, so they're not complaining.
yeah.
But I was.
Nah, that's true. That's true, man. But yeah, besides that game, you want to get into Miami now? Syracuse.
Yeah, brother, I'll let you lead that.
All right, yeah, no. So okay, so I recorded. Like I said, this is a bonus episode. So I kind of gave some quick thoughts on the Miami game. Obviously, we lose to Syracuse. The biggest letdown in that result, right? It's not necessarily we lost, but we were freaking up 21-0 with a chance to clinch our way into the conference championship. We have an elite quarterback for the first time in 20 years, 25 years. We have one of the best offenses. You're up 3 touchdowns, but you choked the game away. It's 21-0 in the beginning of the second quarter. Then at halftime, you let these people have 2 touchdowns. And I was watching that. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's just like the way we lost, That's what disappoints me the most. The fact that we were up 3 touchdowns. Like, let's say, we would have lost, but oh, man, it was hard fought. It was like back and forth from the beginning. It's like, all right, someone had to friggin' win, someone had to lose. But losing in the fashion we did, like choking like that, was just like, I mean, it was disappointing. There's nothing else, and I don't think there's much else for me to say. Like, it was just like we choked. I know everyone's blaming the defense and the defensive coordinator, and I agree. Like our defense has been horrible the whole season, but at the end of the day, too, Cristobal has to get some blame. He's a head coach. We were up 21-0, a chance to literally make it into the conference championship, man. And we're supposed to be a playoff team and all that, and what the hell was that? So I'm just disappointed, and like I said, I don't think there's much else for me to say.
Yeah, man, you guys honestly have been playing with fire all season
Yeah,
long, and you guys got burned. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. You guys have been in this situation many times this year. Louisville, Virginia Tech. Everyone loves to talk about the Virginia Tech game, but it's been close. Like you guys have been in close ones, and you like got out by the skin of your teeth,
yeah,
and it didn't happen this time. Even against Georgia Tech, like it just didn't happen.
yeah,
Uh, and I really think it comes down to coaching, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Because, like you said, the offense hasn't really missed a beat too many times this year. There was like that one stretch that Cam Ward was like a little inconsistent, but even then, like he was still a Heisman favorite.
yeah,
So he's like the second leading passing yards quarterback in FBS.
yeah.
Number one, actually, the guy who beat you, Kyle McCord. So it was like one of those types of games. It was just another shootout that you guys just like ran out of bullets for. At the end of the day, it was unfortunate for you guys, but it's not an easy place to play in. I don't know if your guys got complacent or what, because you get up 21-0 and you're in the second quarter. If you start celebrating they're gonna jump on you, man. They're not just gonna let you walk out of the building unscathed, and they have an answer.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you said the coaching too. Like you understand what I'm saying, because yeah, it's just to me. I think the main thing comes down to like discipline, right? Like discipline, or I don't understand. I just don't get it. Like I don't get it because I know we're like I believe like I don't know. Like we have great players and all that, but like at the end of the day, without coaching, not gonna win anything. And it's not like I love Cristobal. That's my guy. I don't want it to make it sound like, oh, I don't like this guy. Like I didn't expect like to be 10-2 this season. I know a lot of people
Right.
are like, oh, we have a lot of transfers. Like honestly, I just like wanted improvement because last year we were so damn bad. I was just like, hey, as long as we get better, like what the hell? That's all I want. So the fact that we're 10-2 is shocking to me. So I'm just like proud of like how far we've come in a short amount of time. Like what he inherited 3 years ago was like a piece of crap, a program. And now like to have
Yeah.
10 wins 3 years in, he's already built a solid foundation at both lines, like offensive line, defensive line. And I believe that's like the main starting point, right? To like creating something sustainable. So like it's tough, like I'm disappointed, like I said, of the outcome of the game and the coaching and all that. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to sound like, oh, I'm against Cristobal. Like, I think he's exceeded at least my expectations in like a short amount of time. I just wanted to make that like clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has to be the guy to do it for you guys. I've always said that. If not him, then who, right? And I don't think he's doing a bad job necessarily, but I do think he needs to do something about that defensive staff. I'm not gonna. I can't name your guys' DB coach. I can't name your linebackers coach, but hard decisions need to be made because on that side of the ball, that's not. I don't think he calls plays on defense. He's an offensive
No,
lineman,
yeah,
right? So he needs these. I don't know who needs to go, but people need to go. Fortunately, because I know you wanted improvement, but this was a year you guys really could have like made a run in the playoff.
yeah,
It could have been like a championship caliber team if the defense was worth anything. Like if it was like a decent defense, you guys would probably be 11-1 at the very
yeah.
least, maybe undefeated going into the ACC championship game. So I think it is disappointing. Like especially with Cam Ward, he's not going to come back next season. He's going to be in the NFL. Obviously, he's going to be on playing on Sundays, but it's tough, man. It's a tough spot. You guys controlled your own destiny, and Syracuse had something to say about it. They said we want to be 9-3, not 8-4.
Not for sure, man. Nah, I know what you mean. Yeah, like we had this window, and I agree. But I just, yeah, like for me, like personally, I didn't think it would happen. You know what I mean? Like I thought Cam Ward would be good, but I didn't think he'd be this like change. Like this like program changing quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand.
I didn't expect that. Like I know people were saying it, but it's just like so many years of like, oh, every year, like, oh, we got this guy and we got that guy. I'm like, all right, but I gotta see it.
Yeah, show me. Right, I get that. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so, but yeah, you want to talk now about the rankings or any other game that happened?
No, I'll just say, go Gators. We stomped out FSU. We covered, and I was really happy about that. And we capped a real tough season the right way, 7-5. Just want to subtle plug for the Gators. It was huge for Billy Napier's sanity and my sanity. Secures his job, and we make FSU go 2-10. I don't think anyone had that on their bingo card. They were number 10 to start the season, and I think we're number 10 right now in recruiting. So I think we flipped the script on them, which I'm really happy about that. I'm not going to talk about the game too much because it was pretty boring, but I'm really glad we won.
Nah, congrats on that. No, and you guys, ended the end of the season as one of the hottest teams, literally, in the country.
Well, last one. I'm not going to talk about it much because I only saw the end.
Oh,
If you haven't watched the highlights of South Carolina versus Clemson, please go back and watch that. That game was awesome. If you don't know who Lenore Sellers is, you need to know who he is because he is. I think people are saying he's the next Cam Newton. I don't like when people say that, but the guy is a freaking stud, dude. Like he's gonna be a problem next year for everyone in the country, not just the SEC. He's gonna be a problem. They let him develop. While what's his face was under center. What was the guy's name? The guy who was on the QB show. He was on Oklahoma. I can't remember his name. I remember his face.
Spencer Radley.
Spencer Rattler. So he was like the QB2 developing. He's like a 3-star dude. Oh my God, Rob! Please go watch those highlights. They won in a really, really dramatic fashion over Clemson. So
Yeah.
they spoiled them a little bit, but they still have a chance.
No,
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought him up though. I did see a lot of. I saw like the first quarter maybe of that game, but then I saw a lot of highlights, and you're right. He looks amazing. Like he looks like before next season, I think he'll be one of the favorites for the Heisman. Going into the season. Like he
Yeah,
looks
for sure.
legit for college, you know.
Yeah, man. I think winning in Clemson is like an underrated feat. It's not easy to do. So respect to them for pulling that out. They just capped an amazing regular season. So
Not for sure.
props to them.
That's impressive for sure, man. But yeah, speaking of Clemson, now let's talk some rankings or some no
Yeah,
conference
man.
championships or rankings, whatever.
We can do rankings. I think it's a good segue.
All right, yeah. Ah, freaking Clemson! Like, congrats to them.
Um, I mean, I can only imagine what Dabo's reaction to the news that you guys lost was. He
No,
was
for sure.
like, okay, guys, you know, we got some football left to play, you know.
Yeah, bro. Oh my gosh, that was yeah. Like congrats to them. Obviously, like they made it into the ACC championship. Fair and square. A lot of people counted them out, and not they even lost, like we said, this last game of the year to South Carolina. But yeah, due to Miami's loss against Syracuse, Miami ends with 2 ACC losses, and Clemson ends with 1. So rightfully so, they have the opportunity now win the ACC and freaking go into the college football playoff. And they're currently ranked 17th, I think. So
They're 17th right now, so they got a shot. They're the lowest ranked team that has a shot. Actually, when I just realized
yeah.
that.
So yeah, I mean, I could say yeah, congrats to them. I mean, yeah, they have one less conference loss than Miami, so uh, I mean, they made it in. I don't know, like there's nothing else for me to say, but it's like wow, it's like mind blowing to think about.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's really just a weird spot. Um, it's a weird spot because SMU is ranked number 8, right? So they play this weekend. If SMU wins it, that's the easy scenario. Like they're in obviously, and Clemson's not in.
Yeah,
Like easy. But what if Clemson wins? They have to be in, right?
yeah, I think, and then I think SMU too. Like I mean,
SMU is probably in.
yeah,
I would hope, right?
yeah,
Like the committee might mess that up. But what if Clemson claps them? Like what if they beat the crap out of SMU? It'll be their second loss. Um,
yeah.
you know, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be. It wouldn't shock me too much if they bump them out. But if it's a close game, SMU loses. I have to think that they'd still be in, probably at the last spot. But man, it's unsettling. If I was an SMU fan, I would be like, we need to win this game. Nothing is guaranteed for us. You know.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, it's just like Miami. The same thing for SMU. It's in their hands. So all they have to do is win. One final game and they're in. They have a shot to friggin' compete. For a championship, which is it's incredible, right? And their first year in the ACC, they're there as the favorites, right? In the ACC championship game, and nah, it's amazing, man. Like it's just you gotta love those stories like that. Like they kind of came out of nowhere, and I like them, because I like their coach. I've talked about him on here, but I don't think anyone, had them like, oh crap, they're gonna be a force. They could be a top 4 seed, for the playoffs.
With the NIL money they have, they can be a powerhouse program in a few years. Like I think people underestimate the fact that that's like actually true, because they have a good team right now. But they put together a good team. They have crazy booster money, man. First year in the ACC, and like imagine saying that to me like 3 years ago. Like SMU's in the ACC championship against Clemson. Like what? Like on Earth? Like or on a video game, or what are you talking about? So it's interesting, man. Let's see what happens, and maybe they spoil Clemson's chances. We'll see. We could talk about the game later, but you brought up UM, man. I just wanted to ask, man, what do you think? How do you feel about the snub? Because I honestly I see no path for you guys to get into that. Honestly,
Nah, so honestly, I was kind of like 50-50. I was like after we lost, like in my opinion, I told a couple people I was like, I don't think we deserve to make it. Like because even I kind of viewed it like, don't get me wrong, obviously we make it, obviously I'm gonna be happy, I'm gonna be watching and hoping for the best, but I also feel like if we did get a spot, I don't think we're ready right now, like plain and simple, because like obviously I know everyone would be, oh, but we have Cam Ward in the offense, but you can't win a championship or even, let alone like a playoff game without a defense. Like so so yeah, the way we lost and we choked their season away up 3 touchdowns. Like Um, I'm not surprised. And also too, I knew Alabama would like go ahead of us. I just knew that in general. But like not nothing against Alabama. Obviously, they have a tougher schedule. They have one more loss, but they have like more impressive wins. So
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like let's say they would have put us over Alabama. Like I could see it. They put Alabama over us. I see it, but I have like nothing to be like, bro. This is bull crap. Like honestly, I think our play kind of showed it on Saturday. Like ultimately,
Yeah, I think you're one of the few level-headed people about this. Like, because I feel like everyone gets really emotional about these things. People talk about wins and they talk about losses. Like Bama has good wins, but bad losses. Miami has like not even bad losses to be honest with you, but they don't really have good wins. So it's like what matters more. It's kind of subjective to a point, but at the end of the day, we wouldn't be talking about this at all a year ago. Like who no one would be talking about this. They'd just be talking about which bowl game Miami was going to go to and which bowl game Bama. Like people have such amnesia in the sport. Like it was literally four teams, not like last year, and then before that in the BCS. If you weren't perfect, there was no shot at all of going to the championship game, and you knew that. So I think people are already like so spoiled, in their minds about like, oh, but like we deserve to be in the playoff. Like it's 12 teams. Like you knew you had there was like there's more room for error, but not like that much more. You got to win games, and Miami knew they controlled their own destiny. Everyone knew that because if they would have won against Syracuse, even if they would have lost to SMU or whoever it would have been, they would have probably stayed in.
yeah.
Um, so at the end of the day, like that was that should have been their conference championship game at the end of the day, like their playing game, I guess you could call it. So
Uh,
it's tough. You can make an argument for Bama. You can make an argument for Miami. You can make an argument for Ole Miss. Honestly, I don't think that's like irrational, but it's interesting. We get like all this drama now as opposed to like the actual week of. Usually, we're used to like how last year Florida State like after championship weekend got the snub by Bama. This year, it's like the week before that we kind of already know like who's out already and like who still kind of has a chance.
Naive. But yeah, that's why before we recorded, like we purposely didn't say our opinions and stuff. But remember, I told you I'm like obviously I want the best for my team. That's all I do, right? Like hope, like root for my team, but I got to keep it real too. I can't be like no, but this and like I don't know if it's because like I feel a lot of I don't know if this has to do with it, but I feel a lot of quote unquote fans or whatever they don't really know like the game of football or they don't really understand like what it takes to be like a championship team. So like to me, regardless if it's my team or my biggest rival, I'm gonna keep it real. Like I'm not gonna be like oh because it's my team they deserve like what the hell does that mean? Because you have Cam Ward, okay. It's not like a
Yeah,
player.
we can't put that at
It's
safety.
a,
You know what I
it's
mean?
a
Like, yeah,
you feel me?
yeah. You can't put Cam Ward in at safety. You know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But so yeah, I was honestly I didn't like Rob said we didn't talk about the rankings until like this recording, like not even before we recorded on purpose to see each other's reactions. But I was surprised. I thought you were going to be a little bit more emotional about it or like a little more distraught. But I honestly I agree with you. I think that you guys blew your shot. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Not
It
for sure.
happens.
Yeah, I just find it like yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I love the team. Like I said, I want them to do good, but like I mean, I gotta I just try to keep it real on here. I don't and not just on here, like in real life too. But it's just I can't. I'm not gonna be like lying or like arguing or something. Like when at the end of the day, like the way we just played, like it was we don't deserve it, right? Like after that performance, we don't deserve it. But I was gonna ask you too, because obviously, bro, you know way more about this. Do you think like there's any chance we could sneak in or not, or you think we're done?
I think it's a good question. To answer that, I kind of want to go down the list and tell you who's like a lock, right? Like how many teams are locked in, right?
Yeah,
Oregon is number one, Texas is two, Penn State three, and Notre Dame four. All those teams are in no matter what, whether even if Penn State loses to Oregon, they're in. If Texas loses to Georgia, who's number 5, um, those teams are all in. Ohio State would be the next team, and Tennessee. Both of those teams don't play, so they're in no matter what. They're 6 and 7. We talked about SMU, so if they win, automatically they're in. If they lose, maybe they're out. So that's so far we have 7 teams guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
That's 7, and then Indiana, same thing. They don't play, so they're in. That's 8. That's 8 teams, and then we have Boise State. If they win, they're in, obviously. But if they lose, that means UNLV is in. So that's already whoever it is. There's a spot there for one of those 2 teams. So that's 9 right there. And then Bama would be the next team. They don't play, so they're likely in. That's 10. Who am I missing? So
Uh,
and then SMU. So SMU and Clemson, one of those guys is in, right?
yeah.
That's the thing. So SMU and Clemson. So it's tough, man, because then the thing we keep forgetting about is the Big 12 championship games. Arizona State versus Iowa State.
Uh,
One of those teams is guaranteed a spot in, so that'd be 12. So Miami's best bet, if I'm doing this correctly, is that SMU has to lose badly enough to get bumped out. And even then, let's see. So that'd be hold on, because it is a little confusing when you do it like this. So it's
nah, I wanted to ask you just to see if there's any freaking type of chance. Like I said, like I agree with how it's gone down, but yeah, I still, bro, if there's like some little hope of something, I'm like, bro, I'll take it.
I don't really think so, man, because
Yeah,
I'm looking at 1 through 11, right? And those teams are almost guaranteed. Yeah, dude, I don't see I don't see anything because even if SMU were to get destroyed and they get bounced out, actually, that means that Clemson is in, right? They take their spot. But then, like I said, the Big 12 champ would be in over you guys. You guys are the first team out. Unfortunately, I see no path. Well, even if there's chaos, for you guys to get in.
got you, man. Nah, it makes sense. Like honestly, I didn't think there was, but obviously you know more about it, so I wanted to like see. But at the end of the day, like after everything I said, I don't think we deserve it. But it's still, obviously the biggest thing is just disappointment, and obviously it sucks. Like you want to see your team there. Like we've been so bad for how many years, but yeah, at the end of the day, I don't feel we earned the spot to compete with any championship caliber team because we proved that we aren't one because we didn't have a full team, and that I don't want to take away from the offense, 'cause they're incredible. And Cam Ward and Restrepo, Martinez, all these guys were amazing. So I don't want to like be like, oh, but at the end of the day, it's a team, and the defense basically every game was pretty bad, and then the coaching didn't show adjustments or improvement in any area like defensively.
Yeah. So I'll pose a question back to you though, because you say you guys aren't deserving, right? Do you think Bama's deserving?
It's like tricky for me because I'm like 50-50 on it. You get me? I'm
Yeah.
not saying even let's say we snuck in. I don't want it to sound like why are we there? Like I'm not trying to sound like an ass. Like like obviously
Like I'm
if
great.
we snuck in, all right, we're meant to be there. And I'll be happy, but it's tricky with Alabama. 'Cause I understand why. I don't know. I understand both sides. Because they have one more loss. But then you look at their wins. Obviously, they beat Georgia, right? They beat Tennessee, I think, right? They beat no.
No, they lost to Tennessee.
Okay, wait. Who they beat? I know they beat Georgia, right?
They beat Georgia. They got destroyed by Oklahoma
Okay,
recently. They lost to Vanderbilt and they lost to they beat Ole Miss. I know that.
okay.
Um,
And they. All right, so wait. I don't. It's tricky, man. Because I get it.
yeah,
They're not.
they lost to Tennessee. Yeah, I said the three: Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. They beat South Carolina.
And they beat Texas or no?
No, they didn't play Texas.
Oh, right. Who?
Yeah, they beat LSU. They beat the dog out of LSU, and they beat Georgia. That was their big game, their big win. They beat Georgia.
Okay. So yeah, basically, I'm like 50-50 because obviously they have more impressive wins because they're in a better conference and they beat tougher opponents. But then I understand too where it's like, oh, but Miami has one less loss, and And the teams we lost to, like obviously they're not. I mean, whatever. They're not like elite teams. They're not even ranked, but I don't think they're bad teams. Yeah, and those single digit losses. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm kind of like I understand both sides. Like neither whatever decision, like no decision is gonna upset me. Basically, that makes sense. Like I
Yeah,
understand both sides.
I mean, you're a very level-headed guy to say that because I know I'd be pissed because Bama has good wins. Like I said at the beginning of the show, they have good wins. Their losses are bad though. Like the Tennessee loss is okay, but the Vanderbilt loss is not good. I know Vanderbilt was like they had a good season and whatnot, but it's still a bad loss, obviously. And then they Oklahoma you know almost blanked them. They scored 3 points against Oklahoma. Um, their wins were good, right? They had Georgia, who's one of the best teams in the nation, obviously. They beat South Carolina, who's a great team. They destroyed Missouri. I don't think Missouri's a good team, but they blanked them. They beat the crap out of LSU. So they've been dominant. The thing about Miami, though, even their wins are close,
Hmm.
right? They haven't been dominant
Hmm.
like Indiana's been, right? Or like even Bama, like in their wins, they've been dominant. So um, I think that's something that they looked at. It's kind of it's one of those things like what matters more to the committee, right? How you win or how you lose. Like the game is played on the field, and we play to win, we play to lose. So I understand that argument a lot. But at the end of the day, obviously, the SEC is harder to play in, right?
No, for sure.
As good of a season as Louisville's had, they're not Tennessee or they're not, even I don't think Oklahoma would give them a good game. So I don't know.
So yeah, so yeah, basically, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Yeah, basically everything you said there, I agree. And the main thing I think too is like the SEC. The competition is just like tougher, which I understand. But then I get the people too. That's like you play whoever's on your schedule. So like I'm saying, if someone were to argue like that, I'd be like, all right, I understand you. You know what I mean? Like,
Of course, and like I think Indiana's a prime example of that. Like you play who's in front of you, and they have a horrible strength of schedule. Indiana, terrible. The only team in the Big Ten that they played that was like worth anything, they beat Michigan, who was like that didn't have a good season. They beat Ohio State. That's like their Super Bowl.
yeah,
Aside from that, they had a whatever season, whatever they won that game. But was Ohio State, and they got crushed. So, but they crushed everybody else, right? Uh, Everyone was in front of them, they crushed them. That's why no one's really doubting Indiana should like deserves a spot at the table. If they would have lost one more game, forget about it.
yeah.
They would have been out. No one would be arguing that. And I think you could compare them in a sense like UM and IU. Like if IU would have had one more loss, I think actually UM would have been ahead of them. To be
Gotcha, man.
honest with you.
But yeah, no, I like that we talked about it, and no, obviously, like I keep saying, at the end of the day, obviously, I want to be in the playoff, right? Like I don't want people to think, oh, this guy's just like I don't know, like hating or
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
being negative. I'm just trying to keep it real. I just wanted to give my real thoughts and not let yeah, because like you said, a lot of times people let emotions take over, and like there's no, I don't get the point in it because it's like I don't know, because trust me, it's happened to me in the past, right? With my teams, like, and then I catch myself. I'm like, what the hell am I talking about? It makes no sense. Just because I love the team doesn't mean I have to just freaking. It's basically like you're lying for your team, or you're just like when they didn't do it on the field, so what? You have to do it for them off the field. I guess as I've gotten older, I've kind of like thought of that. I'm like, bro, like I'm like a representative or something of like of like my teams are like they're actually gonna freaking make us proud one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of. I don't know if you have any other thoughts like, on that, on like Miami and stuff, but yeah, that's kind of pretty much how I feel. Like,
Yeah, man. The All-State playoff predictor. I was just look at it. You guys have a 1% chance allegedly to make the playoff, according to that. Um,
so you're saying there's a
it
chance?
looks not to
You're
what?
saying there's a chance?
Yeah, there's some chance. I don't know what would happen. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my brain around that part of it, but
Bro,
we'll
next
see, man.
next week we're imagine or whenever the final like the playoffs set,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Imagine, bro. Holy shit.
My God. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'll eat dog poop out of a red solo cup, but I don't know. The fans can think of something. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't.
Well, bro, I think I'll throw a party. I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you need like I think a bunch of ties.
I'll wear orange and green for the next show. I'll do, at the very least wear orange and green. I don't have any Miami stuff, but
But all right, so to move aside, if you are from Miami, what do you looking at like the 12 teams right now? What do you like overall thoughts or like are there any surprises or any or like also too? I wanna get your take. Like, you think there's gonna be a big difference like from how the 12 teams now to like how they end up being? I don't know.
like final rankings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think Oregon is probably going to beat Penn State, so they might drop like 2 spots or three, depending on what Georgia does. They'll still get a home game, so it doesn't really matter to them, right? That's what they want at the end of the day, like a home playoff game. They're going to get that regardless. Um, unless they win, they'll get a bye if they win. But so they, at the end of the day, it's going to be the same. Same thing for Notre Dame. They're not going anywhere. They're going to get a first round home game. Uh, the main game that I'm like could shake things up for real that I really have circled is Texas versus Georgia, man. And we could talk about picks for these games starting now, but obviously we know Georgia dominated them last time they played. They went into their place and they won 30-15. Pretty impressive win. Not too long after they had lost to Bama in a really close one. So um, people are going to say they already won, like they're going to win again. But it's hard to do that in the sport or in any sport, really, to win a game twice. And Texas defense looks really good, man. They look very good. They held Marcel Reed and Texas A&M to just one score, and it was actually a pick six. So they actually blanked Texas A&M's offense completely. It was like 100-yard pick six. that was the only score Texas let up, if you call it that. But so yeah, they're getting Georgia at not the best time either because they don't seem to be like at their A+ game. Like Carson Beck has had some difficulties the last back half of the season since they played them. So even the game they played. So I think Texas is actually going to win that game. So I think Georgia is probably still going to host a playoff game. But we'll see, man. We play these games on the field, not with our mouths, right? So
That's true. I agree with you though. I'm gonna go with Texas too. I think they're gonna get some revenge on Georgia, and
yeah,
mainly because of what you said about their defense and what they just did to A&M. Bro, that's incredible. That at this point of the season too, that they're able to do that and shut down a team that one of the best teams in the country, like A&M. And that quarterback's been playing great. He's had a lot of big games this year, and bro, shut him down. Super impressive. And like you said, Georgia, like not to take away anything from them, but I don't know. I feel like they might run out of gas. I feel like even you think of this Georgia Tech game, like don't get me wrong, it was bro, what a comeback! It's incredible, but like I don't know if you could do that. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna be able to. Let's say they have a huge deficit. I don't think against a team like Texas that you're gonna be able to friggin' claw back like that. I don't know. That's just kind of
no,
how I'm
that's
feeling right
fair,
now.
man. Yeah, that's fair. That's a good gut feeling. I think that's fair. It could happen. They could jump on top of them. It was an emotional win to go into conference championship week, obviously against a rival, so they could be hung over from that. The good thing they have going for them is that the championship's in Atlanta, which is like a bus ride for them. So they don't probably won't even have to like leave the comfort of their own home for very long. That's nice. Texas has to do a little bit more traveling, but man, it's that's the game I have circled. I know you guys might think I'm an SEC homer or whatever, but yeah, honestly, like that because I think the least predictable game. Um, and you could argue with your mama about what the least predictable game this weekend is. But I think it's that one for the Power Four, honestly.
Nah, I understand. They're
Yeah.
two playoff. Teams are definitely going to be in the playoffs, and like you said, Texas only lost is to Georgia. So to me, they're like a legit team. And I don't know. This is going to be a big test for me. Like if I see Texas come out and beat these people after losing them, I'm like, all right. But if I see, I don't know, if they lose again and not able to do something again against Georgia, I'm gonna feel kind of shaky about them in the
Yeah.
playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. 100%, 1,000% for sure. And they'll still be in, but it'll be one of those things like, man, like, can you guys actually do this? You know what I mean? Like, are you guys just here because your schedule was kind of favorable and you won the games you were supposed to win, type of thing? Um, like, the only time will tell. I want to see what you think about the Oregon Penn State game, 1 versus 3.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with Oregon. I just don't think like Penn State offensively. I I don't think they have enough. Like obviously defensively, they're a really good defense. So to me, if you have a good defense, you have a chance. But I feel like Penn State's offense, in order to beat a team like Oregon, you're gonna have to play a lot more consistent than usual. Have more scoring drives than you usually have. Because yeah, I feel just against an opponent like Oregon, you can't like it. It's crazy. I already I brought up the Dolphins earlier, but go back to that Green Bay game on Thanksgiving night. Our defense, in this season in general, our defense is kind of like average. But this game, that first drive, Green Bay gets the ball. We freaking sack Jordan Love. They get negative plays on that drive, and then boom, we muff a punt. So then all the defense has to go back on the field and now play against these people in the red zone. Basically, what I'm trying to say, like Penn State, as good as their defense is, you can't leave them on the field for so long. You gotta. That's a big thing. I think the good teams know how to do that. But yeah, I just feel if Oregon's able to like kind of milk the clock, or Penn State can't get it going, there's only so much like holding up the defense could do. You feel me?
Yeah, I agree. It's hard. Oregon's a balanced team, and Penn State is not. And I think we can all agree on that. So uh, it's going to be hard for me to see Penn State winning this game. That was an awesome analysis. I'm not even going to go too deep because I think you did a great job with it. For me, it's about James Franklin. Can he win the big game? So far, he hasn't shown me that he can. So you know, this is a prove it game. Do you belong? Like, can you actually win this thing? Because you're going to be in the playoff no matter what happens. So show me you can compete, like actually compete with like the top dog right now, because we're going to have to play these games soon. So we'll see. I don't have much faith in them, but I'll be cheering for them. I think that I know I'm a Pitt student, but I actually enjoyed my game, the time that I went there for a game, and it'd be really cool to see that. It'd be awesome to see them in a home playoff environment. That'd be wild in December in the middle of Pennsylvania. That'd be a really hard environment to go into for any team. So we'll see.
Not for sure. And that's a great point. Like really quick that you brought up about like James Franklin. Just like the action and the numbers show that he's not great in those big games. And sorry, like as always, go back to the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel now, 3 years in, 1-15 against teams over 500. So I think it's kind of a similar situation.
Oh, whew, did
I
not
know.
know that.
Nah, it's just so showing. Like I don't know what else. Whatever. We're talking college here. I could go like hours, but I don't know what else has to be shown. Just to prove that at least right now, McDaniel's not a legit NFL head coach, like championship coach or playoff coach. Whatever. If you want a couple of wins and some like reverses and stuff in a regular season, go crazy with him. Go get him, and he'll go crazy and dress nice. But sorry, yeah. Now I'm getting off here, but. But yeah, man, that was a good point with James Franklin. But yeah, what's the next conference game you want to look into?
SMU Clemson. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I'll say really quickly. I'll let you take this one more, but I have SMU winning. I think SMU is a better like overall team. I know Clemson, Dabo Sweeney. He has all that experience, championship coach, and I'll never count out a championship winning coach. I'll never do that. But I'm gonna go with SMU. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that upcoming game, man?
I think uh, I think Clemson has done a real good job of making Cade Klubnik use his legs. I think it's one of the more underrated parts of his games. He is a playmaker. I think the only two touchdowns Clemson had against South Carolina last week were rushing touchdowns that he had, that like pretty impressive rushing touchdowns. If you, like I said, watch those highlights. But he knew when to run. Like he is making plays with his arm. He had some real impressive throws that they just didn't capitalize on. Like they caught it, but like didn't do much with the ball after for some of those catches. But he's making plays, man. It's hard to count him out. I know they just had that emotional loss to South Carolina at home, but look out for him. He's got experience. He's been in these situations before. I'm not saying he's come out on top, but and Dabo has. They know what it takes. That staff knows what it takes. I thought I was gonna pick SMU because I really like them. I really think that they got something going. But give me experience. Give me Clemson. I feel like they are gonna give the world a shock with this one. They win really close, but I might eat those words. We'll see.
Nah, I understand, because like as good as SMU's been, I get like the whole experience factor, Clemson, obviously, in recent memory, they're like the years of domination that they've had and stuff, and SMU's like the newcomer, they haven't won anything in how many years, and so I understand, I understand that pick, but yeah,
Yeah, and
man,
another thing is, man, no, because like think about it, Clemson has everything to lose pretty much. SMU doesn't have too much to lose. Like they kind of need to win the game, like we talked about, but they kind of don't. Clemson does, and they just they like thought their season was completely dead, and they just somehow was revived from the ashes. So they have everything right there in front of them. Like that, all they have to do is go out there and kick ass. SMU is a little bit more in the driver's seat, so let's see if they get complacent because there's still a lot to play for.
not 100%, bro, 100%, but yeah. So what are some of the other? I don't have them pulled up. What are some of the other like conference games? But
We talk about we talked about Georgia, Texas, Penn State. The only one there's two left that are worth mentioning, I guess, for you know all intents and purposes. There'd be Iowa State versus Arizona State for the Big 12 championship, and then UNLV Boise State. I don't know which one you'd rather talk about.
no, honestly, I'm cool with. You want to start with the first one you mentioned is fine. If you want to, honestly, I haven't watched those teams enough, like Iowa State and Arizona State. But what's your take on that one?
I watched Arizona State, especially towards the back end of the season. Wanda Shaw, Kyle Dillingham, the coach there, he's done a tremendous job. He took over probably one of the worst situations in college football, the Arizona State job, um, after Herm Edwards left and left kind of like a dumpster fire there. He has turned that program around in a year where Arizona, their rival, was supposed to be like the cream of the creme de la creme. Um, their running back, I can't remember his first name. Scadaboo is his last name. It's very weird last name, but this year he has 1,400 rushing yards. He has 17 rushing touchdowns. I think his last two games, he scored three touchdowns in the first half of the last two games or something like that. The guy's on fire. He's an animal. No one's talking about him because he's. I feel like they've, like I said, become more relevant towards the end of the season, but they're actually real good. If they make obviously if they win, they're in the playoff. I think I could see them possibly giving a team a run for their money depending on who it is, but we'll see, man. I haven't seen too much of Iowa State, so I won't speak on them as much. They had a really strong start to the season, and they they had some struggles, but they found their way back into this game. I don't think anyone was expecting this matchup to be honest with you at the beginning of the season, but I'll take Arizona State and the Sun Devils, especially after they planted that what is it, the staff that they had, like the trident into Arizona's logo. I think that was the best plant or flag plant of the weekend, to be honest with you. So I'll go with ASU.
Gotcha, man. Now I'm glad you mentioned their running back. 'Cause, yeah, I haven't really watched them, so bro, I didn't even know who that was. But now those numbers are impressive. But I guess it makes sense what you said. If they gotten better, as the season has gone on. Maybe that's why it hasn't been from like the beginning. But nah, those are amazing numbers. Now and then okay, the other game you said UNLV and Boise State, right?
Mhm. This is interesting, man. UNLV, I don't know, there was a big story at the beginning of the season that their quarterback was transferring, their starting quarterback. Can't remember his name right now, and people were saying, that college football is being ruined with the NIL, with the transfer portal. I could have never guessed that they'd make their conference championship game, and they have a spot basically in the playoff if they win. They got to be Boise State and Ashton G&T to do that. I think this is Ashton G&T's put up or shut up game because Travis Hunter is going to be at home this weekend. This is the last weekend to make an impression on the Heisman voters, and and they've beaten UNLV in the past. They beat them earlier this year. It was a close game actually, but if he could put up crazy numbers, which I think he will put up some damn good numbers, and do what he does, I think they're going to come out with a win again. I haven't seen too much of UNLV, so I won't speak on them, but. G&T is my Heisman favorite, so I'm a little biased, but I see them pulling that one out for the last playoff spot for the conference champs at least.
Got you, man. Nah, I would love that for Genty. I feel it's just insane. The numbers he's put up are like literally historic from week one, basically. And yeah, but then I understand. Obviously, Travis Hunter's been incredible. Like Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, a couple of these guys have been freaking amazing. But like for that position, for running back, like he's making history. So it's like it's tough though. They're all great players. I don't want to be like, oh, it has to be him. But that would be a cool story, to see them win that conference championship. As he's having that historic year, and then they go into the playoff, and I think it'll be a really cool story. But
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the last time a G5, right, like a player won the Heisman or even came in second place. Like I can't think of one. I the Hawaii quarterback, can't remember his name. I can't believe I can't remember his name right now. Did he come in second to Tebow? Maybe.
yeah, that's
I
a
don't know.
while
That was
ago.
in 2000.
Yeah,
What was his name, man? The quarterback. He passed away recently, actually. I think.
but
Um,
you see Hawaii Heisman candidate. Let's see.
fine.
I know who you're talking about, but
Oh my god, it's killing me right now.
damn. Oh, this showing me guys born in Hawaii. Nah. Was it? Oh, Cole Brennan.
Yeah, Colt Brennan. Yeah,
Wow,
he was a finalist.
I remember him now. That's crazy. Time flies, man.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, I don't know if he was a runner-up. Yeah, he selected in second.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in third place actually.
Oh,
Third place. So, let's see, man. It's a two-man race, obviously. I'm glad Ward got the invitation to go to New York. He deserves it.
yeah.
But and like you said, the other dudes who got invited definitely deserve to be there. But let's see if GT can separate himself from Hunter or not separate himself, get that lead back. We'll see. I think it's a popularity contest at the end of the day, but we could talk about that more next week.
You're right though. I know you're right. I agree though. Like a lot of years, like it's more popular. It's like what school, like how good the marketing is. How much your face is being shown out there. Like I think that's happening a lot. But
Yeah, I think it was 2020, the year that Kyle Trask had an unbelievable year.
yes,
Um, he ended up behind Trevor Lawrence in Heisman voting, and I was like, why? And no one had an explanation. I was like, that was just those writers and like those journalists are just like kind of on Trevor Lawrence's meat, and like they just knew who he was, and they probably don't know shit about football. Sorry, I cursed, but they didn't watch Kyle Trask play. But whatever. I obviously have beef with that outcome, but it's I don't think these people are watch as much football as they get with the power they have. So I think it's kind of a popularity contest. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening.
I agree. No, yeah, not to get like too talk so much, but uh, I'm thinking of different like professional leagues in terms of like Hall of Fame. I think most Hall of Fames are a joke because it's a bunch of these like writers who get to pick, and just because you write about a sport or you do that for a living, also like even if you watch, doesn't mean you understand the game or know the game. Or now you have guys coming getting in because they know people. So, but yeah, whatever. That's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, there's
No, yeah.
favoritism and everything.
The crazy part to me too is like uh, is Travis Hunter going to actually win the Heisman, but not even be a Jim Thorpe finalist? Like, how is that possible?
uh,
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that's possible. Because he's a better DB. Most people would agree he's a better DB than he is a wide receiver, right?
for sure.
So who's making these decisions? We don't know. There's just like faceless people that don't actually probably care about football for the most part. So I don't know. It's tremendo descaro.
Yeah, it's not right.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I promise. It's all the leagues, like college, NFL, like there's always stuff like that. It's just like to me at the end of the day, it's a disrespect to the sport and to all the guys who have played it and everything. It's a disrespect. That's what it is. Like you said,
What can
the
you
caro.
what can you do?
But yeah, man. I don't know anything else you want to talk about. I know there's a lot of fights and stuff, but I don't know. There's much to say about fighting and planting the flags and shit. But
Dude, it was so fun, man. It was. People don't like seeing that stuff. I love it. I think that's something that separates college from the pros. You get some of that in the pros, and everyone gets suspended and stuff. But in college, that passion is just so different, man. That hate runs real deep. The rivalry games mean so much, even when like playoff hopes aren't on the line, like or they are, whatever. They it still means so much to these guys. They're planting the flag and stuff. You can call it classless or whatever you want to call it. I think it's fun. I think it makes it different, and you know, but we'll see. I have a feeling they're kind of going to get rid of the flag planting thing, but we'll see. We'll see if it continues to be a thing or not. But I don't know. I don't know how you felt about it.
Nah, yeah, I'm kind of whatever about it. I don't know. It's yeah, I've never really liked like the whole flag thing, like in general. But to me, especially, I don't know. I don't know. It's like I also understand like why you like it. You know, why like a lot of people like it. I think it also brings like a added element, I guess, like more entertainment and like there's more drama behind it. So I'm kind of like 50-50, you know. It's not like oh I hate it like completely, but I'm not like oh my I freaking love it. You know, I'm just like kind of in the middle.
Yeah. And my thing is like if you're just planting a flag, like you're not really like damaging the field like that. The Gator players, I was kind of mad about them. In the end zone, they started like kicking up the grass,
Oh
like
damn.
destroying the grass. I thought that was unnecessary. That was dumb. But like planting the flag, like whatever, that takes 2 seconds to patch up, even if it really does make a hole. Um, you know, uh, like someone's job is to keep that grass. I know they're done playing for the season, but like that, I didn't like that. The flag planting is fine. I don't want them to be ripping each other's heads off,
No,
but
for sure. That
um,
was horrible. Yeah.
drums and stuff, whatever, dude.
And
Like,
pepper spray and all that. Like they needed.
yeah, that was extreme. Obviously, you know that was a brawl.
Yeah.
And I really liked how I can't remember his name now. That I think it was the DB from Michigan.
Hmm.
He's a senior. He did you see that interview or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
I think he handled it right, and he was right. The fighting should be happening on the field, not like during the game, the 60 minutes, not after. Whatever.
For sure. No, I'm with you though, because you think of the losing teams, you're like, wait, what the hell are you guys fighting for now? Like it's about fucking
Right.
the game, you know? Like why didn't you guys show that fight on the field? Like
It's about pride, man. I get it, but you know, felt it especially for those Ohio State seniors that never got to beat Michigan. This was their year. God, like I cannot imagine what those guys were going through.
not for sure. But okay, what before we wrap up, you brought up Ohio State. I meant to ask you earlier. What's your like? I don't know. Your take. Obviously, you're talking about the fighting. We were talking about some coaches earlier who don't come up big, like Ryan Day. First of all, during the fight, that I don't care what coach it is, like who it is, that pissed me off. Seeing him standing there watching everything, I think he. I'm not saying I didn't want him to be in there fighting, but like stop your
Yeah,
players and get in between. Don't just stand there like looking around. Like to me, that's not. It didn't show like a leader. But what do you think?
it looked like a flashbang went off, like he was like in a daze, like in a
Oh yeah,
fugue state almost. Um, I think he was like just more in shock than anything, like what the hell is happening, uh, especially the way the game played out. You know, I think like I can't only imagine what was going through his head. When so much goes through your head, there's nothing. It's blank, right? I think that's what he was experiencing. Uh, so I don't really blame him. I get it. Like you kind of should take control. And like you saw, like Billy Napier do that, and like tell his guys to stop, and
yeah,
other coaches did the same, right? Um, but you know, I think he was just like literally, it just shocked that he's like I don't even like he's not even functioning at that moment. You know,
got
I
you.
don't know.
Okay, no, if it's
It's kind of
I understand that. If he was just like shocked, but yeah, it just yeah, it was interesting. And then how about him too? Like fourth year in a row, like losing to Michigan. And I know Ohio State's, they're always up there. But he hasn't. And I'm not trying to be against them because obviously they've been amazing, but they haven't really. Like even some of the big games or in the playoff, they haven't like fully come through. So like, what are your thoughts on him overall? Like I don't know, as a coach.
people were talking about firing him, and I asked people when the game happened. I asked my cousins and family members. I was like, "Do you think they fire him before before they play in the playoffs?" And some people were like, "Yes," and I was like, "Why would you do that?
Bro, what the
You have
hell?
you have a national championship that you could possibly play for. If he makes the championship game, his job is completely secure.
For sure.
If they get bounced in the first round, he's done.
Okay.
If they go to the semifinals and lose a close one, it's like depends. Like
Yeah.
you're kind of splitting hairs, but if they go to that championship game, even if they lose,
Yeah.
he has to be his job is secured. I know he lost to Michigan and it stings like crazy, but you cannot deny the fact that he can still get you to the promised land. Like he's a good coach. He's an outstanding coach. He just hasn't won that one, the one against the M logo, the striped helmet. He just can't beat them. But other than that, he's been great. But when you're Ohio State, that's not good enough, right? So um, they pay him too much to not win that game, especially with the team they have and the team that Michigan has this year. So I get it.
That's the thing. I love what you said. Like obviously he's been great, but there's certain programs that like the expectations that you're brought in, they're just different than any other program. Even Miami, like as bad as we've been, right? Like for bro, but over 20 years, whatever. Like no matter what, whoever gets hired here, like at least the fan base and everything, like we're expecting them to to help us like contend again for a national title, regardless of how many years it's been. So and definitely, I mean, Ohio State's been good for how many years in a row, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, and I agree with you. What you said. Like if they get bounced in the first round, I think he's gone too. But like you said, if they advance and they show that they're competing against these playoff teams, I think he'll be fine. But yeah,
Yeah, time will tell, brother. It was a pleasure. We tackled everything I wanted to talk about. It was an awesome week. So I appreciate you having me, man.
not for sure, man. I'm glad it was a bonus episode. I think it deserved it because of everything that's gone on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, damn right it did.
Not for sure. But not that, bro. Thanks for coming on the show again. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus episode talking some college football with Paul. Make sure to keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at the flame_es. Until next time, take care.